in the heart of the late Jurassic period, where towering ferns stretched toward the sky, and the earth trembled with the footsteps of giants. A young Allosaurus named Ray's hatched from his egg. His small, clawed hands twitched as he blinked at the bright sunlight for the first time. For a brief moment, everything seemed perfect. The warm air, the rustling trees, the distant calls of other dinosaurs. But Ray's would soon learn that being born an Allosaurus wasn't the grand fate it seemed. In fact, it was a curse. This is his story, an account of why, despite being one of the most feared predators of his time, it absolutely sucked to be born as an Allosaurus. Most people think apex predators have it easy. They imagine an Allosaurus ruling the Jurassic world, tearing through prey like a king of the land. But the truth? Being born an Allosaurus was like being dropped into a pit of danger from day one. Ray's wasn't an only child. He had 10 siblings, all hatched from the same clutch of eggs, and there was no loving mother to protect them. The moment they were born, it was survival of the fittest. The stronger hatchlings immediately started attacking the weaker ones. Ray's barely managed to escape the chaos as 2 of his siblings tore into a smaller one, their tiny teeth already sharp enough to kill. There were no bedtime stories, no gentle upbringing. If you were weak, you died. That was the first brutal lesson of being an Allosaurus. Unlike the massive Tyrannosaurus, which ruled the later Cretaceous period, Allosaurus wasn't the top predator of its time. Ray's and his siblings had to compete against bigger and stronger creatures like Torvosaurus, another meat-eating giant that had no problem hunting young allosaurs. And then there were the packs of raptors, smaller, but smarter and deadlier in groups. If you were an Allosaurus, every meal was a fight. As Ray's grew, he learned that food wasn't something you just found. It was something you had to steal, fight for, or die trying to get. One day, he stumbled upon a half-eaten Stegosaurus carcass. He thought it was his lucky break, but the moment he took a bite, he heard the deep growl of an older Allosaurus. Ray's barely dodged as the giant predator lunged at him. His own kind was just as dangerous as any enemy. That was lesson 2. If you didn't fight, you starved. If you weren't careful, you became food yourself. Ray's had made it to adolescence, which was a miracle in itself. But that didn't mean life got easier. Allosaurus was a cannibalistic species. If you were smaller or injured, even your own kind might turn on you. One day, Ray saw a juvenile Allosaurus that had broken its leg. Instead of helping, the older Allosaurs circled like vultures. Within minutes, the injured dinosaur was devoured by its own species. That was lesson 3 of the world of Allosaurus. Weakness was a death sentence. Allosaurs didn't grow slowly over time like some dinosaurs. They grew fast, too fast. Ray's bones ached constantly. His body was always hungry, demanding more food than he could find. His legs struggled to keep up with the rapid growth, making him clumsy at times, a dangerous thing when bigger predators were lurking. Scientists today have found that many Allosaurus skeletons have healed fractures, meaning they lived hard, brutal lives filled with injuries. Ray's felt this firsthand when he miscalculated a hunt and crashed into a tree, cracking one of his ribs. There was no doctor, no recovery time. He had to keep moving, keep hunting, keep surviving. That was lesson 4. Growing up fast meant suffering fast. Despite all his struggles, Ray's grew into a powerful adult Allosaurus. He was big, strong, and covered in battle scars. But even now, he wasn't safe. Allosaurus may have been an apex predator, but it wasn't the only one. The Jurassic period was home to bigger, meaner monsters like the massive Saurophaganax, a supersized version of an Allosaurus that made even Ray's look small. One encounter with the Saurophaganax could end his reign in an instant. And even if Ray's managed to avoid these titanic killers, there was another problem: his own pack. Allosaurs weren't lone hunters. They sometimes hunted in groups, taking down massive prey like Diplodocus and Camarasaurus. But hunting in a group had a dark side. There was no loyalty. One day, after a successful hunt, Ray's and his pack feasted on a giant carcass. The smell of blood filled the air, and for the first time in days, he felt satisfied. Then, without warning, another Allosaurus lunged at him. The pack had decided that Ray's was competition. They turned on him, forcing him to flee limping, and betrayed. That was lesson 5. Even when you worked together, you were always alone. Ray's had survived longer than most. He had beaten the odds, outlived his siblings, escaped bigger predators, and fought off his own kind. But even the strongest Allosaurs had an expiration date. At around 25 years old, Ray's was slower than before. His once powerful muscles had weakened. He had old injuries that never fully healed. One day, while stalking a herd of herbivores, he miscalculated his attack. Instead of bringing down a Camptosaurus, he tripped, falling hard onto rocky ground. Injury, the one thing no Allosaurus could afford. For days, Ray's limped through the jungle, growing weaker. He could smell the scavengers following him: raptors, smaller allosaurs, and even pterosaurs circling above. Then, one night, the growls came closer. Ray's didn't have the strength to fight anymore. The next morning, the jungle was silent. All that remained of the once mighty predator were bones, scattered across the earth. The truth about being an Allosaurus. To humans, the Allosaurus is seen as a fearsome prehistoric predator, a king of the Jurassic world. But the truth? Being born an Allosaurus was a nightmare. You had to fight your siblings just to survive hatching. You had to kill or starve. Your own kind might turn on you at any moment. You grew too fast, suffered injuries, and had no time to heal. Even after surviving all of that, something bigger and stronger was always waiting to end you. Being born an Allosaurus didn't mean being the strongest. It meant spending your whole life fighting, suffering, and surviving only to be forgotten like all the others before you.